this project, you're of course going to need some fabric, and I am using subway signs. This is one of the patterns released in the Embark release by Tim Holtz and Free Spirit Fabrics. So I'm using this to make 2 placemats. I have it already cut, so this is one placemat and this is the other one. I'm going to back them both with just some natural canvas, and then for in between them I will have some of this Warm and Natural, and it will just be one layer of the Warm and Natural and then the 2 pieces of fabric, and that should be enough to protect your table. And then I also am going to make a trivet out of some coiling cord. So this is 1/2-inch coiling cord for making fabric baskets. Got it off of Amazon. And I also got some tapestry needles. These are plastic, but you can also use the metal ones. Doesn't matter, just needs to have a big enough eye to fit a strip of fabric. I have some leftover Subway Signs fabric right here, and I'm going to be ripping this into strips of 1 1/4 inch that I will be wrapping around my coiling to make my trivet. I'll show you how I do that. And then I also, because I have a little of this left over, I might, and I kind of decided against this, but you know me. So just in case, I was thinking of cutting some of this and actually using the back side here to make a little pocket, and then having some of this fold over just a little bit. But I wanted to make a little pocket here that you could tuck a napkin and some utensils in for on your placemat, and then you would have your plate and you could just have that kind of tucked in there. So you never know, I may end up doing that, and so I just thought I would tell you just in case I do. This is going to be fairly simple as far as sewing goes. So let me get these put together, and then we'll make the trivet, and this should be a pretty quick project. Yes, I decided to do it. I decided to go ahead and do the pocket. So I went in about 3/4 inch. I sewed across the top. I just pinked it, and I'm sewing the back side as the pocket, so there's a little bit of contrast. I sewed across it at just when these were kind of just almost to the edge of the foot, and then I followed this line so that it was the same width away from it. And then I did the same thing on this one. I pinned them down because otherwise I will totally mess this up. But I'm going to go ahead and sew along the outside of these pockets all the way around, and then I'm going to do the same stitch all the way around so that I have my little pocket for my utensils and a napkin. I have the corners sewn, and so you can see that on the back side I have the corners sewn, and now I have them each pinned to the backing. So the front side of the fabric with the pocket needs to face the canvas because this is going to be on the back, and then you need to have the Warm and Natural or whatever batting or whatever that you're going to have in the middle. It needs to be on the very back. And then when you sew, I'm going to sew like a 1/2 inch seams all the way around, but you need to leave an opening somewhere. So like maybe I'll leave an opening at the bottom, and you double stitch, sew around the whole thing, and then come back and double stitch, if you can see that. And you need to leave an opening so that once you stitch all the way around, then you can take the pins out. So I have pinned it because otherwise I'll mess it up. And so then I'll come back, and if you think that you're not going to leave a big enough space, you can actually pin how far you think, you know, where you need to start and where you need to stop. So let's say if I want to start here, I can do this, and where I want to stop, then I know I can start stitching here 1/2 inch all the way around, and then come back to this, and I'll stop, take my pins out, turn it over, take my pins out. I'm going to turn it inside out. This will then be on the in the middle between the two. This will be on the front. This will be on the back, and I can iron it again. I can iron this under, and then I will go around and I'm going to top stitch it, and we'll be done with these. Well, friends, I have the placemats done. So they're sewn. I did some top stitching around them. And remember, I said I'm not a seamstress, so the top stitching is not perfect, but it did close that opening where I turned it inside out. You can see that I do have the canvas on the back. Top stitching went all the way through. And I have the little pocket here for my napkin and my utensils. Enough room for a plate. And you can even set your drink here so that it doesn't, you don't even need a coaster. You can just set your drink right there. How cool is that? So this is for pizza night, New York pizza night, but I need a trivet for my pizza stone. And so that's what this is. I have taken the rest of this fabric, the Subway Signs fabric, and I ripped wide pieces, so wide strips so that the words are there. And then I got out my 1/2 inch coiling, and I have my needles. So I'm just going to reach in the pack here, and I'm going to grab one with one of the really large eyes. So the eyes vary. They're all large, but some are larger than others. I want one of the big ones. Well, I was off to a great start, and then I realized I forgot to hit record. So I undid everything, and that's why my fabric's a mess. This cording comes with a shiny tape on it, and so you want to cut that off because it makes it more difficult to get started because it's slipping around on the tape. So I can show you in here because I already threw it away. So see, it's a shiny tape, and it makes it difficult to get started. So let's forget about that. Just cut it off. And then you want to have your tapestry needles. Now, tapestry needles have a large eye and a dull point. So they're not pointy. They're not for sewing. They're for, you know, slipping something in between. And that's what we need. We don't want the snagging on the fabric. The metal ones are also the same way. So if you get metal or plastic, it doesn't matter. You want to fold the strip in half, and you want to thread it through the eye, leave a little tail. And I will tell you, there are a couple of different ways to do this. Some people use a sewing machine. So if you watch some, you know, if you want to watch another way to do this, there are videos on YouTube. You can just kind of search fabric baskets, and there will be people that will show you with this cording. And when they start the beginning, they sew over it. You're welcome to do that method. There are also some people that will hand stitch this stuff into place. When I learned this back in the 80s from a craft and needlework market that we went to with our craft shop that my parents owned, you know, when we do cross stitch, we take the floss that we are stitching with, we hold it on the back, and we actually stitch over it. There are no knots when you are cross stitching, and then you run your needle under at the end on the back of the stitches and trim your floss off. So the stitches are what hold all the threads together on needlework and cross stitch. So because I learned that, the person that taught me how to do the baskets was a needleworker. And so I didn't learn to stitch or hand stitch or machine stitch this or even glue it. So this is how I do it. I hold, you know, a couple of inches, and then you're going to fold the ends in, and then you want to just kind of start wrapping, and you're going to hold it. And beginning is always the most difficult part, so don't get frustrated with yourself. You're going to wrinkle up that fabric, and you're going to tightly wrap it around that little tail. And you want to be sure that as you're wrapping that you are overlapping. Otherwise, when you start to bend it, it will do that. And you don't want to see the cording. So you want to be sure, and especially here at the beginning, I'm going to try and wrap more than I will later on when the curve isn't so tight. All right, let's see if that's enough. You don't want to wrap too far because we're going to make a circular trivet. So let's see. You're going to start and you're going to bend it in. So see how it bends so much? So that's why at the beginning, you're going to wrap more than usual. And we're going to try and keep it nice and tight as we bend. Actually, I am doing this kind of left-handed, and I should have it this way for me. Okay. Now you can see I'm curling it up a little bit like a snail. And as I get around here, all right, so I have wrapped it 1, 2, 3, about 4 times or so. Now I want to secure the end, and then I'm going to come over here and I'll secure this side. So this is the hardest part because you're trying to get this thickness through this little area here, and you don't have really anything holding it together. So you're going to just hang on, squeeze as much as you can and pull it up through the center from the back side. And I would say at this point that, oh, it all came up, that you want to be sure, okay, I can retighten it, not a problem. I can push it back in there because I haven't pulled this too tight yet. And now I'm going to squeeze, pull that tight, squeeze this. I'm going to go around, and I'm actually going to do that again because this is the first stitch. So I'm going to do that again. And I will say, if you have arthritis, this is probably not the craft for you because it does take some hand strength to be able to keep this squeezed and tight. All right. Now it looks like a little tiny cinnamon roll. We're going to hold that there, and we're going to bring it up between the cording and the center, and we're going to wrap and then start wrapping again. Remember, you want to be sure you have overlap, especially at this beginning area. And I'm trying to get around to the other side, so I want to wrap it again. Let's look. Okay, that's pretty good. You don't want to go too far here at the beginning. All right, and I'm squeezing it. I'm going to put this back up through that center hole again. Pull. And I'm going to do that. That should be good because we have the end here. So now I'm just going to do that once. I'm going to wrap up next to the stitch. Then I'm going to wrap 2 or 3 times. And I want to come up here. And if you watch when I do this, I kind of pull it together so that it's kind of crinkled. It's not too far spaced apart. And I twist this so that the I forget what they call the back side of the fabric, whatever that's called, is facing here because I don't want the back side of the fabric wrapped. I want the front side to show. All right, so then we go around and up in between. And that's really all there is to starting a basket. So now I'm going to take this off. I think, let me look. 2. Maybe I can make it 3. And that should put me just on the other side of this stitch. And if I turn over, you can see that I'm just on the other side of that stitch, so I can go in. I can pull up. And you can see that I'm not going through the center anymore. I'm going through the next row. And then you pull this up. And it's nice and tight, so it's difficult. That's what I like to see. There we go. That is a nice cinnamon roll right there. Then this, I'm going to twist it, bring it around, pull it up next to that stitch right there. And then I'm going to start wrapping this because it's going to be held down with the next piece of fabric. Okay, so now I reach for another piece of fabric, fold it in half, and I'm going to keep this end. Oh no, this end is the one that I put in, the one with the name of it and the white stripe. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that as the one that is my flag. And I'll start here. So I'm going to lay that in the direction I'm going, and I'm going to go back over and start wrapping over that fabric, pulling tightly, and then just keep wrapping. 1, 2, and let's see. I'm almost to the other side of this stitch when I feel back here, so I'm going to go one more. And I'm going to go in between. So this row, I'm going to the next row, and I'm going to come up here, and you're pulling. Oops. Okay, and then see how I make it kind of thin as I bring it around, and then back here, start wrapping it again. 1, 2, squeeze it together, wrap it around tightly, come up between. I'm going to continue like this until I have a big enough trivet for my pizza stone. right, so I have done, counting from the center out, I have done 9 rounds all the way around. So I trimmed it off and tapered it so that the thinner end is toward this side, and then I'm wrapping. Going between the last 2 rows. Okay, and then to tie this off, I'm going to take this and I'm going to run it under. Close. There is our trivet for our pizza stone. All right, and it's nice and flat. Sometimes after you've been messing with it, it'll kind of, you know, go up in the middle or up on the sides or something like that. So if you just kind of go around, and then once you get it on a flat surface, put it nice and flat, and then you can set your pizza stone on it. Hey makers, here is the final product. So I have my placemats, I have my trivet. I think this trivet turned out so fun. I have not done this, like I said, since the 80s, and it was really fun going back, getting the cording, and then, you know, ripping the fabric and remembering how to put this all together. A lot of fun making this pizza trivet. Now, is it perfectly round? No. Is it perfect in any way? No. Do I still love it? Yes, I totally love it. It's a lot of fun. And are these placemats perfectly rectangular? No, they're not. Is my sewing perfect? No, it is not. Do I love these placemats? Yes, I do. Because I made them. They're kind of a fun theme. And did they turn out the right size? I have no idea. I don't know. I think they're a little bit bigger than most placemats, but I really like how big they are because I could put my plate on here. Here's my pocket for my utensils, my napkin, and then I still have room to put my beverage up here, and it's not going to get in the way of anything. So I really like that, and I could have a huge plate if I wanted. If I made like a big pizza, I could have a huge plate on here and still have room for things on the sides. I don't like having my drinks off of the placemat, so they're bigger than I anticipated, but now I really love that because it's given me so much room, and I don't have to maybe even put a tablecloth on my table. I can just use just the placemats. So I guess my purpose in making this was just to encourage you to give some things with fabric a try. As always, I want to thank you very, very much for your support. It means so much to me that you come and watch the videos, that you comment, that you like. It really is, it just means a lot to me. And so I want to thank you so much for your support. I hope that this inspired you. And if you have any questions, as always, please, you can comment in the comments below this video or on my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com. And if you wanted to know where I got to the stuff, including, you know, all of these things, they are linked below in the comments, and they're also linked on my blog. And with that, I want to wish you a very creative day.